Hey everyone, welcome back to another lesson. So now that we're familiar with modules and tuples, I want to talk a little bit more in the next few videos. I want to talk a little bit more about turtle graphics. Now, we did talk a little bit about it in the previous section. We did some really cool, practices and everything, but we're actually going to create a project with it in this section. So what I want to do is I want to actually, introduce us to a little bit more complicated concepts of the turtle graphics. And one of the things I want you to learn is to use the documentation. All right. So my goal here is we're going to start with really simple, practices, and we're going to, as we go down, we're going to get into some more complicated projects using, turtle graphics, and then eventually we're going to do our final project. So anyways, so in the first one, what I want you to do is I want you to create a page where the turtle graphic is going to create a rectangle inside that page. So I want you to take a look at the library and take a look at the documentation of this and kind of figure out how you can do this. The objective is to achieve something like this. So as you see, it's going to basically just turn around and make it square basically, and when you click on it, it ends. So that is pretty much it. Take a look. I'm just going to run it one more time. Take a look. This is pretty much how it's going to go. So what I want you to do is think about how you can actually achieve this using turtle graphics. And again, you look at the documentation and see what you can use, and all that stuff. It's really not that complicated. First one is very simple, but again, I want you to try to solve this. All right. So pause the video and see if you can figure this out. All right, so hopefully you attempted to actually solve this, but if not, let's actually go ahead and move forward, and let me show you how you can do this. So the first thing we want to do, obviously I'm using PyCharm. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to import the turtle graphics library. So I'm just going to say from turtle, all right, import. We're going to import the turtle, and also we're going to import the screen as well. It might come handy later, but I'm just going to have it here. Anyways, so the first thing I'm going to have is, we're going to use the screen class as well. So we're going to create some objects. So for example, I'm just going to create my first object, call it screen, and we're going to call the screen class, and there you go. We created an object. A second one, we're going to create our turtle object. So I'm just going to say Timmy, let's do it this way. Timmy the turtle. All right, and we're gonna again call the turtle class. All right, just like that. So we created our objects. Now let's go ahead and actually create create the movement. So if you remember, we have the forward movement, so that's one of the things we want to have. And also I'm going to use the left. So I think there's a left movement. There you go. So that way we can actually, turn it left. So just like that, we can actually do that. Now let's actually go ahead and do this. I'm just gonna call Timmy the turtle. We're going to say forward. Okay, so I'm gonna move 100. So that's basically the amount we want to move. And then we're gonna do it one more time and left. And we're going to say 90. All right, so let's actually run this. And also let's actually make sure that it doesn't exit immediately. So I'm just gonna say screen, and we're going to exit on click. So just like that, we don't immediately exit, right? So this is basically what we, the object here that we created. All right, so let's run this and take a look at this. There you go. So now we actually are making the first move and turning left, right? So now we gotta just copy this thing again over and over. So there you go, 2, 3, 4. So just like that, I think this should work. There you go. Perfect. So just like that, we created this simple movement. Perfect. Now, one of the things I want you to think about is you can actually use this in a loop. So you don't have to, because again, you want to create efficient and clean code ideally, and also you want to get used to using for loops, while loops, and all that stuff. So you can actually use a for loop for this. And the way you do this is all you got to do is just create a for loop that repeats one of these 4 times, right? Again, because if you think about it, this is 4 times just being repeating the same code. So you can create a for loop that is going to do that. So let's actually go ahead and do this. So I'm just going to say for and we use the dash because that means we're just gonna continue with this in range, right? And we're going to repeat it 4 times, and just like that. And let's indent it. So we're going to indent this, right? But just like that, we're going to tap this, and there you go. So just like that, we actually are going to repeat this 4 times. So let me run this one more time and take a look at it. There you go. So we are basically just repeating the same thing and without having to write the same code 4 times. So that's a lot more, efficient, right? So the last thing I want to talk about before we move on to the next video is that in Python, in a PyCharm, there is a way to actually, replace portions of your code. And the reason for this, for example, we use this, for this particular object that we created, we use Timmy the turtle, which is pretty long, right? So let's say I want to change this, but let's say we have a pretty complicated code that is repeating this thing like many times, right? So it's going to be really challenging to just go and change them one by one. One of the things you can do is actually you can use the refactoring tool to basically do this in a single click. For example, if I click on this, one of the things I can do is right click and then click refactor and rename. So just like that, I can just give it a name. I'm gonna call this Timmy or Tim, and just like that, see guys, I just click enter, press enter, and just like that, I replaced everything all at once. So perfectly, very simple, and I was able to do that with a single click instead of having to do it one by one. And if I run the code, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to run perfectly fine. So just wanted to kind of share that tip with you. I'm going to talk a little bit more about these like shortcuts and stuff like that as we go. Obviously, the best way to learn these is to just like learn by doing it. So that's why I will share these one by one as we go down, right? So anyways, let me know if you have any questions, guys. This was the first challenge. We're going to do a couple more again, because it's important for us to get used to like turtle graphics library a little bit before we move on to the final practice of this section. So anyways, let me know if you have any questions, guys. If not, I'll see you in the next one.